Arman Tsarukyan is more than just a rising star in the UFC's lightweight division. He's a fighter who grew up with means, built his career through discipline, and now lives a lifestyle caught between elite ambition and athletic grind. From the business side of his family, to the cage earnings, to cars, travel, and luxury living, this video takes you inside his world. How he makes money, how he spends it, and how his background shapes what he values in life. Arman Tsarukyan's story stands out in the MMA world because it doesn't start with poverty, struggle, or a desperate climb out of nothing. Instead, it begins with something almost unheard of in combat sports: a financially stable family. Born in Georgia to an Armenian household and raised in Russia from the age of 3, Arman grew up in an environment where discipline mattered, but so did business. His father built a successful career in construction and development, giving the family a level of comfort that most fighters never experience before stepping into a cage. This foundation shaped Arman in a unique way. He didn't have to fight to survive. He chose to fight to excel. He pursued MMA not because he needed money, but because he wanted greatness. And that decision changes everything about how he handles wealth today. When you grow up with structure and resources, you approach your career with a different mindset. Less desperation, more strategy. Less fear of failure, more focus on legacy. That's exactly what defines Arman's approach to money, lifestyle, and ambition in 2025. But while having a successful family gives him a safety net, it doesn't mean he lives passively. Arman's entire image is built on work ethic, humility, and discipline. That combination, wealth in the background, discipline in the foreground, is rare in the MMA world. And it's the reason his lifestyle catches so much attention. Because when you start with something and then build even more on top of it, the result is a fighter living a lifestyle very few in the UFC can match. And it all began long before he ever earned a paycheck from fighting. When Arman Tsarukyan entered professional MMA, he didn't step in as someone chasing money. He stepped in as someone chasing identity. But as his career grew, so did the financial opportunities around him. His rise through regional circuits, international promotions, and eventually the UFC transformed his athletic talent into a growing personal fortune. By 2025, estimates place his net worth around the 7-figure range, with numbers climbing as his position in the lightweight division rises. Arman's fight purses are the foundation of his earnings, but they only tell part of the story. Win bonuses, performance incentives, locker room payouts, and back-end contract perks add layers to what he brings home after each event. Sponsorships became a major factor as well. Brands tied to gear, supplements, recovery products, energy drinks, and mobility services all align with his image of an elite athlete living a modern, disciplined lifestyle. Every training clip, every YouTube appearance, every camp vlog serves as indirect promotion for the brands that back him. Unlike many fighters who must spend their winnings on basic survival or catching up financially, Arman has a different advantage. He can reinvest. His family's business background means he already understands financial management. He spends strategically, not impulsively. His growing earnings aren't exhausted on temporary luxuries. They strengthen his long-term lifestyle and open doors for bigger investments. By 2025, Arman isn't just a fighter collecting paychecks. He's a young athlete building a scalable financial base. His money comes from the cage, but it doesn't end there. His sponsors, his visibility, and his future potential create a wealth model far larger than fight night earnings. And that wealth is reflected not just in his bank account, but in the way he lives. But what does that lifestyle actually look like? Arman Tsarukyan's lifestyle in 2025 is a blend of luxury, discipline, and youthful ambition. He's not the kind of fighter who flaunts mansions or dozens of supercars, but he lives comfortably, travels often, and immerses himself in environments designed for high performance. His lifestyle is athlete-first, but supported by wealth that gives him flexibility most fighters never experience early in their careers. He lives in upscale apartments and villas depending on where he trains, often in modern, minimalist spaces with access to gyms, saunas, recovery rooms, and nearby training facilities. When you watch his daily life, what stands out isn't excess, it's refinement. Clean spaces, organized routines, high-quality gear, professional-grade equipment. He spends on things that elevate his performance: nutrition, coaching, supplements, medical recovery, travel, and wellness. Cars also play a role in his lifestyle, but not in a flashy collector way. Arman has been connected to exotic rentals and high-end vehicles through sponsorship deals. Sports cars, luxury SUVs, and performance models he uses during camps and content shoots. These cars match his public image: sharp, powerful, modern. He doesn't brag about ownership, he simply lives the lifestyle organically, which actually makes it feel more authentic. Travel is a major part of his world. Fight weeks, training camps, sponsor events, media obligations. Arman moves between countries, staying at premium hotels, resorts, and training centers. His social feeds show beaches, mountains, high-end restaurants, private gyms, and exclusive facilities. The travel isn't for show, it's part of building a brand that stretches beyond Russia, Armenia, and the UFC cage. Arman's lifestyle is subtle but aspirational, a combination of hard work, family influence, and modern athletic luxury. It's the opposite of chaotic. It's calculated, quiet, expensive in the way that discipline is expensive, not in the way that excess is loud. But behind that calm surface lies a deeper financial strategy that shapes everything he does. Arman Tsarukyan doesn't flaunt a massive car collection the way some fighters or influencers do, but don't let that fool you. His lifestyle in 2025 is highly mobile, highly upgraded, and built around a level of freedom that only comes when you have both money and purpose. While many athletes flex cars to signal wealth, Arman's approach is different. He uses cars, travel, and mobility as tools, not trophies. But those tools are far from ordinary. Let's start with his vehicles. Even though Arman doesn't boast about owning a fleet of supercars, he frequently drives and appears with luxury SUVs, exotic rentals, and high-end sports cars through his partnership with companies like VEM Exotic Rentals. These aren't budget vehicles. They're the kind of cars that cost hundreds of dollars per day just to rent and tens of thousands per year to maintain if owned. We're talking Mercedes-Benz G-Class models, BMW M-Series performance sedans, Porsche SUVs, and even Lamborghini and Ferrari rentals during content shoots. These vehicles match the image of someone who blends athletic professionalism with a high-standard lifestyle. He's not collecting them, he's leveraging them. They become props for branding, tools for daily convenience, and ways to show the public that his lifestyle is rising without ever crossing into flash-for-flash-sake territory. Then there's his travel life. Arman moves constantly. Las Vegas, Russia, Armenia, Dubai, Thailand, Abu Dhabi, and various U.S. training hubs. His travel schedule looks more like a CEO than a fighter. Every training camp means flights, hotel stays, apartment rentals, recovery facilities, transportation arrangements, and sponsorship shoots. And very often, these aren't basic arrangements. He stays in high-end hotels, premium villas, and resort-style accommodations chosen for privacy, comfort, and proximity to elite gyms. The airport clips, the hotel views, the training camp footage, they all paint a picture of a fighter who experiences global luxury through the lens of work, not ego. His flights aren't always private jets, but he frequently travels business class, first class, or on sponsored itineraries that mirror the lifestyle of a top professional athlete. This mobile wealth is a crucial part of Arman's life. Some fighters buy huge homes early on. Arman invests money into movement, places, opportunities, and experiences that elevate his skills and reputation. His lifestyle is international, fluid, and constantly shifting between training locations, sponsor events, and personal commitments. Transportation isn't his identity, it's his infrastructure. And that infrastructure supports a financial life built on multiple revenue channels. If you want to understand Arman Tsarukyan's wealth, you have to understand something essential. He doesn't earn like a typical athlete, and he doesn't spend like one either. His income is structured, layered, and steadily rising, but it's also influenced by the economic realities of MMA, which he himself has openly addressed. Let's break this down. Arman's fight earnings are the foundation. His base pay per fight has increased significantly over the years. Earlier in his UFC career, his pay hovered in the $20,000 to $40,000 range. Now, as a top lightweight contender in 2025, his base purses are often six-figure payouts, and that's before bonuses. When he wins, he can earn more than $200,000 to $300,000 per event. Between base pay and win win bonuses. Performance bonuses add more layers. These $50,000 awards can transform a fight night into a life-changing night, and Arman has collected these in moments where his performances stand out. That said, bonuses are unpredictable. Fighters can't rely on them, but when they hit, they significantly boost short-term earnings. Then there's the hidden part of UFC pay: locker room bonuses and discretionary payouts. Fighters rarely talk about these publicly, but they exist. Small financial incentives that the promotion gives when a fighter delivers value, hype, or performance beyond contractual terms. These aren't guaranteed, but they help elevate the financial picture. But Arman's income doesn't end with the cage. Sponsorships and endorsements form a major part of his wealth. Companies tied to MMA gear, athletic apparel, supplements, recovery equipment, and lifestyle brands gravitate toward fighters with discipline, charisma, and a clean public profile. Arman fits the mold perfectly. Brands he's associated with provide both cash and perks: clothing and gear sponsorships, supplements and recovery brands, energy drinks, car and exotic rental companies, gym partnerships, social media promotional campaigns. This extra income is significant. While fight purses fluctuate based on events, sponsorship money gives Arman more predictable revenue, something fighters desperately need considering the physical risks they take. But it's also important to highlight what Arman himself stated publicly, that even top fighters sometimes fight at a loss due to the cost of training camps, travel, coaches, sparring partners, nutritionists, recovery specialists, and medical treatments all eat into the purse. For a fighter who invests heavily into performance, these costs can run into the tens of thousands. Arman understands that money earned must be managed wisely, and that awareness, combined with his family's business influence, pushes him to think beyond the moment. He's not just collecting paychecks, he's building something bigger, which brings us to his long-term financial strategy. Arman Tsarukyan isn't just fighting for money, he's fighting for positioning. Unlike many athletes who rely solely on purses to determine their lifestyle, Arman approaches wealth with a businessman's mindset. It's the advantage he gained from growing up around his father's multi-million-dollar construction and development operations. He saw early what wealth looks like behind the scenes: planning, investing, expanding, and preserving. This influence shows in every financial decision he makes. First, Arman doesn't overspend on liabilities early. He doesn't buy decade-long mortgages, exotic cars he doesn't need, or flashy items that drain long-term savings. Instead, he channels money into training, nutrition, health, and travel, which directly support his earning potential. His biggest investment is his body and career, because in MMA, longevity is wealth. Second, Arman places emphasis on real estate and traditional business models. Thanks to his family's background, he understands property value, development cycles, and land investments better than most athletes. While he hasn't publicly detailed large personal holdings yet, everything about his financial discipline signals that real estate will be a long-term move, especially once he reaches the upper tiers of UFC earnings. Third, Arman builds strategic relationships. Sponsorships aren't just cash deals for him. They are networking opportunities. Brands he works with often have business owners, investors, and partners behind them. Arman engages with those networks. He studies the business side. He looks beyond fighting to understand how to build something sustainable. Fourth, Arman is positioning himself for international branding. Being Armenian, raised in Russia, living between training hubs like Vegas, Dubai, or Europe, this global identity gives him more leverage for international endorsement deals and future business ventures. He appeals to multiple markets, languages, and cultural audiences. That means larger sponsor interest and more doors for business. Fifth, Arman is building a brand that can survive outside the cage. He's clean, disciplined, marketable, and respected. These qualities matter when an athlete transitions into coaching, commentary, business ownership, or fitness entrepreneurship later in life. His lifestyle content already hints at future opportunities in high-performance training, wellness, or athletic branding. Finally, Arman's overall financial strategy is simple but powerful. Invest in performance now, invest in wealth later. This sets him apart from fighters who chase luxuries too early or burn through earnings quickly. quickly. Arman is preparing for the long game, not the highlight moment. His family background gave him the starting point. His career gave him the platform. His discipline is giving him the future. And now that we've seen how he earns and grows wealth, the final question becomes, how does he plan to live with that wealth? Arman Tsarukyan's daily routine in 2025 is the closest thing to a perfectly engineered life for an elite athlete. It's not chaotic, it's not reckless, and it's definitely not random. Every hour of his day is designed to serve one purpose: elevate his body, his brand, and his earning potential. And that structure is what gives his lifestyle a sense of quiet luxury. Luxury built not on excess, but on intent. His mornings begin like someone who knows time is his most valuable asset. He wakes up early, often before sunrise, in a modern apartment or villa, sometimes in Las Vegas, sometimes in Russia, sometimes in Dubai, and often in whatever high-end temporary home is closest to the world-class gym he's using for camp. His living spaces are always clean, bright, minimalist, white walls, simple furniture, premium linens, natural lighting. Nothing messy, nothing wasted. Every room feels like a performance lab. His first hour is always focused: hydration, stretch, light cardio, and a private breakfast prepared to match the demands of his training cycle. Eggs, lean meats, fruit, vitamins, supplements. Nothing flashy, everything efficient. His meals aren't luxury. His discipline is the luxury. Then, it's straight into training. Morning sessions can last hours. Drilling, pad work, wrestling exchanges, strength conditioning, and because Arman invests heavily into himself, his training partners and coaches are top tier. These aren't random gym sessions. They're curated with intention, precision, and often significant cost. After the morning grind, Arman transitions into recovery, which is arguably where much of his wealth actually gets spent. High-performance recovery tools fill his environment: ice baths, compression boots, massage tables, sauna systems, cryotherapy visits, cupping therapy, chiropractor sessions, mobility specialists. All of this requires money, yes, but more importantly, it requires patience and routine. This is the part casual viewers never see: the quiet, expensive, repetitive work that keeps a top athlete functioning. Afternoons often involve travel between facilities, sponsor shoots, content filming, or business meetings. And because Arman travels internationally so frequently, his afternoons might take place in a 5-star hotel hallway, an airport lounge, a beachside resort, or a modern gym overlooking a foreign city skyline. What you notice in his lifestyle is that he's constantly surrounded by motion and discipline. He's not lounging in mansions or flexing private jets. He's training, recovering, working, eating, and traveling. And every location, from Las Vegas gyms to Abu Dhabi facilities, represents a different chapter of the same mission. Evenings tend to be calmer: stretching, studying opponents, dinner with his close circle, or long, quiet nights in comfortable, upscale apartments where the environment itself feels designed for a premium athletic lifestyle. Arman doesn't party. He doesn't clutter his life with distractions. He optimizes. This is the luxury he lives with: the luxury of control, stability, structure, and mobility. His wealth buys him more time, better tools, cleaner environments, safer recovery, higher performing coaches, and the ability to focus without worrying about survival. His lifestyle isn't flashy, it's elite, and that's why it works. Even though Arman Tsarukyan's lifestyle looks controlled, structured, and financially comfortable, the reality behind the scenes is far more complex. Because in MMA, wealth isn't guaranteed. It's earned in unpredictable waves, payouts that depend on wins, timing, contracts, and the brutal realities of a sport where one injury can derail an entire financial year. And Arman himself has spoken openly about this. Sometimes fighters earn less than fans think, and sometimes they even fight at a loss. This is where Arman's story becomes fascinating from a financial standpoint. His wealth is growing, his sponsorship value is rising, and his opportunities are expanding, but he is still operating within the economics of MMA, where expenses can swallow profits quickly. Training camps are expensive. Paying coaches, sparring partners, strength specialists, dietitians, recovery experts, travel, housing, and international medical care can easily cost tens of thousands of dollars per camp. Then there's the risk factor. Every fight carries the possibility of injury. A broken bone, torn ligament, or concussion could take months to recover from. meaning months without income. Fighters don't get paid monthly salaries. They get paid per event. So even with sponsorships, the financial uncertainty is always there. And unlike athletes in leagues like the NBA or NFL, fighters don't receive guaranteed contracts that protect them financially. If something goes wrong, income stops immediately. This creates an interesting duality in Arman's financial life. He is wealthy enough to live very well, but not wealthy enough to coast. He has stability from his family background, but not enough to retire. He earns strong income from his career, but not enough to relax financially for life. It's a balancing act between ambition and responsibility. We also have to consider the cost of travel, which in Arman's case is constant. Camps in Vegas or the UAE, visits home to Russia or Armenia, events around the world, premium flights, upgraded accommodations, and long stays in different cities cost significant money. Even with sponsors covering certain trips, the list of expenses never truly stops. Then there's the branding side. Maintaining an elite image through clothing, photography, social media content, transportation, and lifestyle also carries financial weight. Arman's brand is clean, disciplined, stylish, and global. And maintaining that image requires investment, especially when competing with fighters who drop hundreds of thousands on outward image alone. Most fighters struggle with this. Arman manages it with strategy. He understands that overspending early ruins careers. He understands that fighters who live like millionaires before becoming millionaires eventually hit the financial wall hard. He doesn't repeat their mistakes. Instead, he follows a simple philosophy: grow slow, build smart, reinvest in yourself first. This awareness, combined with his family's business influence, protects him from the traps that collapse other athletes. And that's why Arman's long-term financial future looks very different from most fighters in his division. Arman Tsarukyan's future isn't defined by how many fights he wins. It's defined by how he's building himself outside the cage. And in 2025, he's laying the foundation for a long-term wealth strategy that could turn him from a top-tier fighter into a long-standing global brand. The first pillar of his future is global visibility. Arman appeals to multiple regions: Russia, Armenia, Georgia, the US, and the Middle East. Very few fighters have that kind of cross-cultural reach. That makes him valuable to sponsors, promoters, and international brands that want ambassadors with global influence rather than regional niches. As his popularity rises, so will his endorsement contracts and appearance fees. The second pillar is business intelligence. Arman's father didn't just build wealth, he exposed his son to a world where deals, development, and financial planning are normal conversations, not mysteries. Arman often speaks differently about money than fighters his age because he approaches wealth as an investment tool, not a trophy. Once he reaches championship-level payouts, his business portfolio could accelerate fast. The third pillar is real estate potential. Arman hasn't publicly revealed large property investments yet, but given his background, it's almost guaranteed that real estate will become a major part of his wealth-building future. With earnings growing and international mobility, he could easily establish properties in Vegas, Dubai, Yerevan, or Moscow, turning his fight career into an engine for long-term holdings. The fourth pillar is brand building. Arman is disciplined, respectful, and clean-cut, something sponsors love. He could expand into fitness brands, training programs, performance gyms, apparel lines, and digital content platforms. His look, attitude, and personality fit perfectly into the modern athletic entrepreneur image. The fifth pillar is post-career leverage. Arman is young, charismatic, multilingual, and globally connected. When he retires from fighting, he could transition into coaching, commentary, brand ownership, fitness entrepreneurship, international business, or even athlete management. Unlike many fighters, Arman's future doesn't end with MMA. It begins with it. And the most powerful part? He's building a life that's wealthy, not just in money, but in options. He can train anywhere, live anywhere, work anywhere, build anything. He has the discipline of a champion, the background of a businessman, and the lifestyle of a rising global star. And that rare combination is why Arman Tsarukyan's future wealth is almost guaranteed to grow far beyond the walls of any gym or octagon. His story isn't about escaping poverty, it's about elevating potential. It's about taking a privileged starting point and transforming it into something earned, something powerful, something global. Arman isn't just building a career, he's building a legacy. One paycheck, one investment, one disciplined day at a time.